your opening presentation was very strong. I thought for a while that you were just going to skate on the surface about the whole public because you went on to other things. But then you came back to that. So you did cover everything, but not necessarily in the logical order of doing one issue and then moving on to the next. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but it's unusual. It's something I noticed. There's good discussion of the procedural and substantive due process. I think the first question on the motorcycle is there a fundamental constitutional right to own a motorcycle? Then you get to compelling state interest. You don't think, well, is there some compelling state interest that would justify the motorcycle? But I thought you handled that pretty well. On the question about whether you can go too far, I think that what you said was fine, but there's the whole question in a democracy. Every time a court rules that something is a fundamental right, that's one less issue for the public to decide. Maybe at some point that goes too far. But I thought the highlight of the performance isn't exactly the right word, but the highlight was the discussion of where do you find the sources for substantive due process. And you laid out both views, and you did a fine job of explaining why those might be good tests. And you really knew your stuff, presented it well. I thought that was the highlight.
I thought you did an outstanding job. The prepared statement was very good. A couple of little points in there that I just loved. Your definition of procedural due process I thought was very simple and very straightforward and got to the heart of what it's about. Without using the word process or procedure in the definition, which always kind of bugs me. One more criticism, as you're laying out cases to support what you're saying, I wouldn't just cite the cases, because just case names by themselves don't do much persuading unless I go out and read them, which, given the time frame, we're not. Talk about them the way you did some of the other cases. Very much liked your discussion of the distinction between fundamental rights and natural rights as one of the best distinctions there that I've heard. And I agree, I very much enjoyed how we figure out the fundamental right. Perfect articulation, and that was my reason. His point was my reason for bringing up Justice Black, because he said once we open it up, there's no going back, and pretty soon the court will identify all these things that we can no longer legislate. And you were getting to that, and I thought you did a very good job.
I agree with my colleagues. I think that your prepared statement was clear and thorough. I agree that it was a little bit out of order. Usually I like the very specific thesis statement that has to be agree or disagree and then why. But there's no right or wrong way to construct those, so I appreciate that. You were also the first group to go all the way back to 504 BC for procedural due process. So if the weight of years is any factor. I also liked how you brought in the specific scrutiny test to the motorcycle question. For the question we asked about federal funding for organizations from my Meat Eaters Association, you got close when you started talking about the state interest in eating meat, but I was looking for more substance and specific case law related to freedom of association. And since this is a constitutional application practice, I would just encourage you to continually try to tie the questions back to the constitutional application, the text, and the facts. I think that it's good that you provide documentation and support for why you think something should be one way or another, but just tie it back to the facts would be my best suggestion. So